Hey guys, just thought I'd do a quick hair bow tutorial. I've been making these since I was in high school and thought it'd be fun to show you guys how I do mine. This Halloween one was made not too long ago, and this Christmas theme one as well. The only one that's a little bit older is the purple Halloween one back in the background. This one, it's not all that great because it was the first Halloween hair bow I ever made, but it's still cute. So this is a very flimsy ribbon that I'm going to be using. It's Celebrate It, that's the brand, and it's like $5 at Michael's. This is, I don't actually have the name brand for this one. I think I just kind of found it somewhere. This is one of my favorite ribbons. It's just a little ghost pattern for Halloween. I've almost used up all of it. What you see here is the last of it, and I'm not sure if they sell it anymore, but I got all of this in Michael's. Some of it's from Hobby Lobby, but not a lot of it. This is very, very sheer. You can see straight through it, so you have to make sure if you use that specific boo pattern, you put it over something you could see. This is my favorite one of all. It's actually really hard to use just because you can see the hot glue through it when you do use it, but it's so pretty and it's so shimmery and I love it. This is kind of Thanksgiving to me. It's very shiny, it catches the light very well, but I won't be using it actually on the bow. It's just going to help me with something later. I use Offray and Celebrate It a lot. It's usually about $3 at Michael's as well. So what I do to start off is I use a DVD or game package of any sort, and I figured this would be fitting since it is Halloween. And I just kind of wrap it around the case just to measure it. I don't really use an exact measurement, which I probably should, but this has been working for me for years, and I just kind of taught myself how to do this, and this was the best way for me to do it. So what I do is I kind of measure it out, kind of get it looking the way I think I might want it to look, and then I trim it up because it doesn't really matter, because in the end whenever you fold it over you can form it the way you want it, really. So after I get it formed the way that I want it, I cut the ends off and I take the DVD case out and I lay it out straight. And to be honest with you, when I make hair bows, I just kind of make them on a whim. I don't have a plan for it usually. I just kind of pick something that I like. So I'm going to be using the little ghost pattern, what's left of it, because I figured I might as well get rid of it. And I make sure that it's going to fit evenly all the way across. I usually lay it out and kind of leave it there, but since I am filming and the camera's kind of in the way, and I apologize for my arm being in the way most of this, I promise I will find a better way to film this soon. But I just kind of make sure I know where it's going to be even and where it's going to be laying down. So first off, I will put a little drop of hot glue down at the very tip of it just to kind of lay the ribbon on. And you don't really need a whole lot of it, you just need enough to kind of cover it. This is a very easy ribbon just to kind of go crazy with the hot glue if you'd like to. Just be careful not to get your fingers in it. I burnt myself pretty good, which I am so used to not feeling anything in my fingers from that anymore. It's insane. But just make sure it's all patted down really good and that it's not going to move. Just because if it does, it throws the whole thing off and you have to start all the way over again and it's a huge pain. So I just start laying it down even, and I measure with my pinky and my thumb, and you can decide the distance. This is really just to keep it loose so you can fold it over later. I used to do one long line down the entire thing and I learned that it makes it really thick and hard to form. So I try to just give it some space in between the little dots that I put down. And I put a little dab there and I smooth it out really good. And I know this is a really long video, I just wanted it to be very thorough so you could see everything that I do and not really skip over anything, you know, just so you get the idea of it all. And then I just go all the way down the ribbon, making sure that I keep it all even and straight straight down the middle, or the side of it. I tried to cut out as much as I could of this. I just didn't want to make it too difficult to follow. I know my hands are in the way most of the time, so I kind of wanted to make it easier. Alright, so once you get closer to the end, even though, and it's really up to you on how you want to do this, you could either glue it down to the very end and leave it that way, because later we're going to end up cutting the ends and kind of fixing them up a little bit. So it's easier just to glue it halfway between your last glue point and the end of the ribbon. That way when you do cut it later, it holds on better and you're not having ribbon just flopping around everywhere. Alright, so now that that's done, I go all the way down to the end, and I put just a little dab of glue, and I lay it over, and I let it dry. So after you get that done, I usually trim off the end. You don't have to really cut off the fray if you don't want to. I know that makes a huge mess. I just kind of leave it on there, or I clean it up just a little bit just to kind of get it out of the way. It just keeps it clean, but you're going to end up cutting it off later anyway. Then I'll do the other side. Alright, and this is the hardest part for me, mainly just because this ribbon is so hard to hot glue down without it being seen. If you don't want to add any like little decor to it to kind of cover it up, then just a little dab will do ya. Just a little bitty one, which usually that still is way too much, honestly. It'll end up showing either way, and you can kind of tell as I go down. And I did my best to kind of make it not that way. It didn't work out, so I tried something later. Just make sure it's all dry. Try not to touch it with your fingers because it is so hot, and usually my fingers, like the residue from them, will stick to it and you can see my fingerprint. So just kind of let it dry on its own. And I do it kind of far in between where I glue at, just because it does leave such a noticeable spot. The Christmas bow I showed earlier had quite a few of those. I did pretty good to cover them up the best I could, but they're still noticeable. And there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. Especially if this is your first time making a hair bow, especially like this. Please don't feel bad if you can't get it right the first time. It honestly took me years to even be able to do this. I'm not saying I'm professional in any way, because I'm definitely not. I'm still very bad at making them. But it's something really fun, and if you enjoy doing it, then you shouldn't let, you know, a first bad try get in your way. So I just trimmed off the end, and now we're going to fold it and get it formed into the cheer bow. Which I usually just kind of fold it over and just kind of get an idea of what I want for it. And then I'll grab the back piece of it in the middle and kind of bring them together just to get that process started so we can wrap it all around and stuff. I'm sorry for that pause there. So I just bring the back and the middle part together, and I squish the middle, the top and the bottom together. And you can form this however you want. If you have another way that you want to try to do this that might be easier, you're more than welcome to try that. This has just always worked for me, so I figured, you know, why change something that works? But it's different for everybody. Your ribbon will be loose. It will be very loose around the edges and everything else, and that's the whole purpose of us doing this, is because if we had done it all the way across, it would have been very hard to squeeze it together to form the bow, I guess. And this is that shimmery ribbon that I showed earlier. I usually just have like curling ribbon from the dollar store, but I'm out right now. And that makes it a lot easier. So this is just going to hold the middle together while we finish. And I wrap it around several times because what you don't want to do is glue this ribbon to the bow. You want to be able to pull the bow apart and like lengthen it differently if you'd like. And it just gives you a little more freedom to work with it. I used to glue them directly to the bow, and it honestly made my life really hard. Alright, so now we're going to go through and seal this ribbon into place, which I'm just kind of going around and picking in the in-between spots where there is no glue and making sure that it stays, and it'll also help hold the bow up in place. I cut out a lot of that because it was just a lot of filling it in. These scissors are very dull. I've been making Halloween costumes lately, and I dulled them out on fabric. So the easiest way to do this is to use bigger scissors, but you pretty much just cut a tail in it like you would any other cheer bow. And it's okay if you don't get it even. This definitely will not be even just because my scissors are so tiny and dull. It was a little difficult to do this, but we made it through. I end up covering up the ends of the purple ribbon just because it is a little uneven, which is something I wasn't very happy with, but you get what you get, and that's fine. And then you just do the other side just the same. And like I said earlier, the ends of the ribbons will come up. It's just because we didn't glue them into place earlier. And that's fine. You could either do that before or after. I usually just kind of glue the tails down just to make sure it doesn't move anywhere. And the spot that I actually glued the ghost pattern down, it ended up working really well. I ended up not really having to glue it down anymore. It just kind of stayed in place with itself. This purple ribbon actually does the black around it, the black shiny part, really grabs fuzz and stuff. I had yarn inside my bag, so there's like a ton of yarn shedding all over it. Alright, so this is going to be the centerpiece of it. You can really use anything. I usually buy like fuzz ribbon. I don't really know what it's called, but I put that in the center. I haven't been able to find some for a long time, so I just kind of use whatever ribbon I have laying around. but I just kind of wrap it around really good. It doesn't, if you put a lot of ribbon around it, it doesn't really matter if you glue it to the bow at this point, because I don't think you really can. I don't think I could have if I wanted to, unless I did like the sides. But put a hefty good glob on there, because that's what holds your bow together, and that's what's going to hold your clip on as well. And you can use alligator clips, you can use little, what are they, little berets? But you can use anything you want on it, really, just to hold it in. And I suggest, personally, whichever hand you're more dominant in, make sure that you put it facing the opposite direction of that hand. Like, I'm right-handed, and I usually put my bows in with my right hand, so I have the clasp pointing left, just to make it a lot easier. And I don't have that in here because I actually don't have any right now. I'll have to go buy some more soon. And I'm gonna put this sheer boo ribbon on here, which is so adorable. I love this so much. And I'm just gonna wrap a tiny bit around it because I do want to use this later. I want to keep a little bit of it because it is so cute. But I just put enough around the back of it to where you wouldn't notice it later, and it's still movable. Like, the whole ribbon in the middle, if you like later on I noticed that none of the boo was showing, so I kind of turned it a little bit to where you can see it more. Alright, and I remembered that I had some rhinestones laying around from a Halloween costume that I did a couple of years ago. So I just went through this and picked out the more Halloween colors, which is really all the colors that are in there, for some reason, I don't know. But I'm going to try and cover up these glue spots all over. There was one that I did miss kind of at the top, but I'll see if it's even noticeable. But I'm just going to put two, and you can do this any way you want. If you want to put if you want to put buttons on it, if you want to try doing something completely different, you do not have to do this. This is just something I had and thought that it would look cute. You can honestly do any of this however you want. Just make sure you're careful when doing this, because I did burn my fingers a couple times just trying to get it on there. If you want to use tweezers to do it, you can. I just use my fingers because I'm used to it at this point. And I did the best I could to put the rhinestones on the spots where the glue was showing, but you know, if you can't exactly do it, covering it up is the best way to do it. It doesn't matter how perfect it is. Because honestly, if it's on your head or whoever's wearing it, people are usually just going to glance at it and just be like, "Oh." You know, they won't really be looking for mess ups. Alright, so now we're going to do the top as well. Just kind of fill it in, whether it's going to be seen or not. I don't go all the way around the top of the bow just because it's going to be against your head, and it'd be really bad if it like pulled hair out. So I was kind of thinking about that. I only put 3 on the top around. Just trying to cover up those glue spots, which I kind of missed that one. And it doesn't matter which order you put these colors in either. It's totally preference. All of this is just preference. Alright, in this part we're just going to glue down this ribbon so that you can see the whole thing just to make it even and it holds it in place a little bit better. And you just let it dry. I actually burnt my hand really bad here. I had to cut it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see me make next, or if you have any questions, or if there's anything you think I should work on. I will put my Etsy listing down in the description as well. This right here is also where you put your beret. I thought I'd point that out, I totally forgot. Just right across the back. Thank you guys so much for watching.